What's up, channel members and subscribers? How's it going? How's it going? I'm never on time in the morning. It's like always chaos around here. Holy moly. Welcome, Diane, Rob, Rex, Darren, David, Mark, Gayton, Arturo, Matt, Jason, John, Major John, good to see you. Sir, Don, Cliff, Dan, Jason, Don, Sergio, Lieutenant Colonel, good to see you, sir. Glad to have everybody. Glad to have everybody. Whew. Amazon earnings coming up today. I'm uncertain on those. Like I was pretty confident on a drop on Google, although it held right at the we didn't really go any further. We'll take a look at that here in a second, but got the jobs report tomorrow morning. That's probably we might get some chaos off of that. Democrats melting down. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, the louder. I don't usually talk politics at all, but the louder the the squeak gets, the more you know that they found the money. And I mean, there's as I talked about yesterday, there's unintended consequences to cutting out a bunch of spending. There are, I guess, as of yesterday, they got access to the Medicare Medicaid system. And remember, they're not going to cut legit spending, at least not without Congress and stuff like that. They're going after fraud and fake and things that are wasteful. So that's what they're really looking for. They're not going to cut like your Social Security or kill your Medicaid payments to the hospital, whatever. So it's real interesting. And but we got to be careful. We got to be careful. If they cut too much with that upwards of 60% of the population sucking off the government teat, that's a lot. What happens? What happens? We're all of a sudden we all can't spend money. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the system is broken. I mean, I've said that for gosh, how long I've been saying that. Been pulling up the debt clock and showing it off that it's not a sustainable way. I mean, basically, as long as I've been a guru, I've been saying this, that the day of reckoning is coming. Now, the unintended consequences of aggressively cutting, you have fits. You take away the drug, you take away the heroin, and problems. Withdrawal, and yeah. It's like cut off the flow of fentanyl, and this might be the unintended consequences. Actually cutting off the drug flow. What do all we make jokes about crackheads and stuff like that. I was reading a joke tweet. It was like, a crackhead wakes up broke every morning, and that doesn't stop him from going out there and making it happen for him. It's kind of, running out of money stop you from chasing your dream. I mean, not to say that, being a drug addict's a dream, but, it's, I mean, you kind of have to look at it, like who goes out there and busts their butt to make it happen every day. And so, I don't know. Cut off that stream of drugs, though, and prices of drugs go up. Supply and demand, right? Supply high, prices low. Supply drops, prices go up. What is that? What happens? What's the unintended consequence there? Higher crime. Higher crime. It's not just getting people off drugs. It'll be higher crime until those people wean off. Yeah, we'll see. It's just you gotta step back and look at the whole picture. So it's interesting. It's all interesting what's happening. It's happening really quickly too. So when you look at the way Tesla, like the way Elon operates all his companies, right? When he deems it to have gotten to a point where there's wasteful spending and we're going through a little bit of contraction, he just cuts and cuts. Cut. Last time we saw cuts, he cut the whole supercharger team, and then all of a sudden there were some problems showed up, and he hired some people back. And I'm not sure it works that way with the government necessarily when you let people go. The deadline for taking the buyouts is looming, and 40,000 people have committed to taking those buyouts so far. It's not very many. Not very many when you look at the millions, tens of millions of people that work for the government. We talk about upwards of 12 to 13% of the population works directly for the government. 350-ish million people. So we're talking about 35 million people. That's just 10%. Then add another 2% to that. So talking about 41 million people work for the U.S. government directly. That's a lot of people. When you're like, and 40,000 of them are taking the buyout, that's not very many people. So, I don't know where we're going with this whole thing, but it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. If nothing else, it's entertainment, right? All trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance, not necessarily indicative of future results. This presentation intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to buy or sell any financial instrument. If you desire personal financial advice, hire and consult a financial advisor, which is not what I do. So basically what that means is I make predictions. Sometimes I get lucky. Sometimes I get it right. I may never get another one right again. And you shouldn't trade. You shouldn't trade stocks, options, bonds, forex, futures, cryptos, treasuries, bonds, unless you're willing to take the substantial risk of loss. I don't know if that's right for you or in your situation. So if you're not able to tell yourself, you got to go hire and consult somebody that can, which is not what I do. I'm not telling you what to do, what the buttons to push, what to trade, none of that stuff. So anyway, tomorrow coming up, the unemployment rate update, non-farm jobs, all that fun stuff. Today, not really much happening. We got the unemployment claims. They came in a little spicy. We're seeing California and New York growing. Let me see if I can find that really quickly. I just saw it right before I stepped here into my studio. Let me see if I can find that chart really quickly. If I can remember the source I saw it. Yeah, right here. Here it is. Pull this over. And check out that right there. New York and California. Weekly initial jobless claims. And then New Jersey and Massachusetts actually had less jobless claims. So this is intended to be entertainment. Don't do anything I say or do. Don't trade anything I talk about. Period. Just don't. You got to make your own decisions. It's entertainment. That's what I'm doing this for. Think about it. You go watch CNBC. It's entertainment. It's not news has become entertainment. You can say that I'm not entertainment if you want to, but it's financial entertainment. You can go spend your time reading Facebook if you wanted to, or you can sit here and watch me. It's, you have a choice what you do with your eyeballs and your clicks. I try to bring benefit and, provide useful information, but doesn't always work. So to me, that's a little interesting. California, maybe, is it because of the fires, or, why is New York even higher? It's kind of interesting, right? Georgia right up there too. Wisconsin. And then you look at the ones that had job gains, or, job gains, less jobless claims down here. It's kind of interesting. What does that mean? I don't know. It's kind of like I said yesterday, the warning sign is when we see large companies doing multiple 5-figure layoffs. That's, multiple in a day, and then back-to-back days of that. That's the warning sign that things are coming apart. So until we get to there, we'll see. We'll see. Right there, jobs report tomorrow. Should be interesting. And then we get the consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. And remember, this right here was the excuse in January for one of the big drops. So might it come back around again if the number gets a little spicy? I don't know. We'll see. It is heavily dependent on gasoline and diesel fuel prices. Not so much, people say it's directly correlated to oil prices. I think it's more the distillates than it is directly the oil prices. A lot of people just lump it all together, but I think the distillates are more important when you watch those. And those charts tend to ride together, correlated when they're correlated, not when they're not. All right, they're not exactly the same. We have refineries going down. We can have plenty of oil, but not have the distillates. So it's one of those you have to, it's big picture. There's lots of little subtleties, all the way everything works. It took me years to figure all this stuff out, and that's why you guys watch me, and it's entertainment, right? I know things. I say things. I have my morning monster. Try to stay aware. So it's always a conversation too. I'm willing to chit chat about just about anything. All right, S&P. Look at the overnight price action. Yesterday, I was saying if we can break above, probably coming on up. There's the key level. We look at how we stopped right there. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Where does that key level come from? Let's zoom her out. Take a look. Look right here. Oop, I went too high. Weekly time frame. Comes from that high right there that we made in December. Right at Christmas time. Isn't that funny? Took a little diversion up there for 3 days and then right back below it. And then sitting here, sitting here, sitting here, sitting here. Oh, sitting here, sitting here. I mean, if we can break through, here's the upside target. Now, with the way the price actions developed to get us here, I'd say we're like roughly, I think we're basically the market roadmap kind of statistic, 75, 25, 75 coming up to this target area. I don't tend to be wrong on this. When I put a bias on it, I think we're 75% likely to do that, 25% likely to come down here. Now, if we hit here, I'll have to come up with a new, what I think is going to happen. But just in the next few days, couple weeks, right there. Right there. Yeah. I wasn't saying good or bad on Elon cutting, so wrong. I know. It's an aggressive way. It takes care of problems, but it also can lead to, longer term problems that you can't just fix. No easy fix. So we'll see. And, will it work? We've never really done that in the government before, so it ought to be interesting. So we're sitting there at that resistance on ES. I know there's a lot of fib lines drawn. If you're new here, you're like, holy bananas, that's a lot. Really comes down to just this at this point. Just this. We're sitting in this resistance zone. It's been resistance. Been resistance since even before December. Comes all the way back over here. Right there. See, we top, popped up. Nope. Top. Couldn't quite get there. Popped up. Nope. Top. Again, try to go up through. Nope. So this is a key resistance right here for the market. Very, very key. I mean, look at that. And that's across multiple contracts. Like we've had contract rollovers, and it's still unable to get through there. Very interesting as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, there was a contract rollover right there. And I don't know. Like I said, 75, 25. 75 higher. There's the target right up there. And getting a little more specific on this pullback right there, it just reaffirms, it doubles down. Confluence of levels. As Michael pointed out on gold yesterday, confluence of levels, that's resistance, and we're seeing a little bit of pullback off of that today. In Q, not quite the same rosy picture here. We do have this big pullback we did. We've been holding the July breakout right there. Ooh. Let's take a diversion for a second. We got cooking. Uh-oh. Pushing below that level. Highway to... We don't just reverse that right now. We get a close below this today. Like I said, watch out. We get that close below there, probably coming down here. Back to the NQ. Still, so we had this downtrend of highs over here. I know I'm skipping around, sorry. Things are happening. This is NASDAQ futures. If you're not sure what that even means, just bear with me a minute. This trades basically 23 hours a day, 6 days a week. So I watch this more than I watch the cash indexes or the ETFs, which are derivatives. I don't like derivatives as far as making decisions in my trading. I like to go to as much of the underlying as I possibly can. That leads us to futures because they have the most information available in a non-obscured way. If you're not sure what all the things I just said mean, keep hanging out. Maybe learn a few things. Let me know in the chat. You ask questions. So this is a higher downtrend of highs. Still resistance. If we can break above, the target is right up here for NASDAQ. This one is not pushing through at this point. Doesn't have the same, you can see we don't have that same solid level on NASDAQ that we do on ES, on the S&P. This was the level from back here in July. We keep, it's kind of funny, we keep hitting the top on ES, but we keep retesting this breakout over and over and over on NASDAQ. This breakout level from back here in July. We made that July high. We broke out here, quickly rejected it, came back, ripping back through, made this high right there in December, and we haven't been able to get back up there. Now, if we can push this on up here, probably going right up there like a rocket ship. Could go quick. Once we get up there, we might have a bigger down. Now, like I was talking about yesterday, I can make the case for we get up to this 2250, 2300, or I mean 6250, 6300 area, and then take a trip down to the low 5000s. The 3-day roadmap line. I don't usually look at the 3-day, but it does hang out right down here around 5200. We could go take a trip down there, freak everybody out sufficiently, then rip back up, make our high up around 6600, and then go on down to like the monthly roadmap line, which is way the heck on down there. So be careful. I think we're in a topping process. We'll probably be in a topping process most of this year. We'll see higher highs. We'll see dips. We'll see. And my big bold prediction for the next couple, probably past this, beyond this year, is below 4,000 before above 7,000 on S&P. Looking back at Russell, we're getting up in here. Getting up in here. I know, again, lots of fibs, lots of stuff drawn. Let's just turn off a few of these things. Real simple now. Here was the pullback. First move up. Retrace. Held a higher low. Resistance zone right there in that box. I think if we turn down from here, this is going on down. Probably to this level around 2000 on Russell. This is like IWM if you're unsure, like the ETF for it. NQ is QQQ, ES is SPY. So this, if we can get above it, above that resistance, That's the target. Now, this one's been really beat down compared to NQ and ES, so this one may outperform to the downside, actually, while we see ES and NQ make higher highs. And then, so this might all resolve very quickly. We may see this pop up another 100, 150 points. May see this pop up another 1,000 points. And we may see this pop only another 20, 30 points, and maybe even 60 points, maybe 90 points, somewhere up in here. It could poke up a little bit through. And then this roll, as ES and NQ go down to the 3-day roadmap line, then we get a big bounce, and this comes back up again, makes another lower high, while these make higher high again. Kind of the way it's all unfolding. We'll see if it actually happens. We'll see. And dun 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 dun. Well, you can say that, Kevin, but I don't think that's quite accurate that 95% have been on permanent vacation. Now, they may have been at work from home, but I don't think it's permanent vacation. I think, we've got a lot of government employees. I mean, a lot of military folk. They go out there, they don't work from home. It'd be really tough to do what the military does from home. This uptrend of lows, if we're going to dive down, that's the support. And if we get below it, coming down here. And if we get below that, coming on down. So that 60 area looks very likely if we get more downside here. Now, if we break back up through the roadmap line, which is sitting right there about 74-ish, we could easily pop right back up here. If we do that, inflation numbers are going to get really spicy really quickly. I talk about gasoline, distillates. This right here actually broke below the roadmap line. Very similar to oil. But you notice that chart doesn't quite look the same. Doesn't quite look the same. We could bust that down lower, but we also could finish up this little correction we're in right now. 1, 2, 3. It could have one little spike down right there, and then we reverse this thing hard, and then this thing's all of a sudden ripping. Maybe like not gonna happen. I don't know. I believe the chart patterns over, there's lots of things I've said that people are like, no way it's gonna happen, and then it turns out to happen. So that would be a target zone right up in here. Possibly up to $22.55. And this is wholesale prices, not pump prices. Heating oil. Sitting on top. Now, this is the one that concerns me. We're sitting on top of the roadmap line here. This potentially looks like a full correction done. This is a move up and a retrace. And if this gets continuation, we could see this right up at 280. Really quickly. And this move right in here actually looks a little bullish. Now, I don't necessarily like the way that this initial move up and this low right here slightly overlap. That gives me cause for concern on going higher. So the picture on oil and distillates is a little unclear. This is diesel fuel. We call it heating oil in the futures, but it's diesel fuel basically. It's all interesting. And then NG, I don't usually talk about natural gas either, but if we break below the roadmap line, we're holding it pretty well right now, but if we break below the roadmap line, probably coming down here to $2. Yeah, we did a pretty aggressive initial drop, and this may come down like this, find a low in here, retrace like this, and then come down like that. And it may be somewhere out in the summer before we do that. You can see, like over here, look at the way this works. We usually get a big drop coming into March, April, run up a little bit, and then get another drop in the late summer. That's just you go back, you see it play out over and over. Like we tend to get a big drop, Coming into March, recover a little bit, get another drop. You know, sometimes it's trending up, and the drops in the late summer aren't as drastic. But we tend to run there's a cyclical nature to natural gas and the demand. You can see it playing out, right? I mean, look, that's the forward curve. You can see it every year. That's it right there. See it right here? That's the cycle that plays out inside. So they price it. They price it that way. All right. Yeah, I mean, Major John and Captain Sledge and Lieutenant Colonel Goose, and I'm sure General Rush, they'd all still be in if they could work from home and for the military. I mean, you guys can let me know. I mean, it'd be great, right? Fight the bad guys from home. All right. GC. 2,900 was my target. I mean, we pretty much dead centered it right there. There's the potential to get a little higher, a little frothier. I don't know. We may be starting a bigger pullback. Maybe starting a bigger pullback. Have to keep an eye on this one. I'm not sure where we're heading next yet. I mean, that ripped right up to the target. I mean, that was it. On the bigger picture bias, we're gonna have to wait for a new setup. That breakout turned and burned. We just gapped and go right up to the target. Silver still lagging. Still sitting just under that prior high. And this might be indicating we're about to see this bigger flush. I actually lightened up on pretty much all my gold and silver holdings because gold's at the target, silver's lagging at a resistance point. We're either about to break out on silver or about to retrace pretty big. I'm giving it, like 55-45, right? Like 55 dropping into a correction, 45 going higher. A little bit uncertain on that one. A little bit uncertain. And Digger, you too, right? I'm not sure what rank you were, but I know Digger be in there too. I mean, so I'm glad y'all find that a little amusing. Bitcoin, as I said, if we can get above that level, we might be ripping. Might be ripping. Got it sitting there. Got it sitting there. We're just consolidating. I mean, that range right there on the pullback, and we're just sitting in the middle. That's not exactly bullish. We may see another dip before we can pop. Now, MicroStrategy announcing they're changing their name to Strategy. And with the new Bitcoin accounting rules, they're adding like $12 billion to their balance sheet worth of Bitcoin gains or whatever, which is going to allow them to sell another $12 billion of bonds, which will allow them to buy more Bitcoin, which will allow them to add more to the balance sheet, which, I mean, this is like the infinite money hack, right? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Waiting on this one to break out. We had, resistance is all the way up here. All the way up here at the roadmap line and the downtrend high confluence right in here. If we can break through it, this thing may rip. If we reject that, this is going down possibly to the triple digits. Low 4 digits at least. Talking 1,000. Possibly down to 700. It'd be rough NKD still sideways, nothing to see, nothing to talk about. It's global liquidity. Dollar still working on its trip back down to the roadmap line. So everybody's counting on the dollar going higher. What if the dollar does this? What then? Right? Everybody's talking about the dollar is going to rip. They're going to keep the strong dollar. That's their plan for world domination with the tariffs and all that stuff. But what if the dollar drops out? What does that do to the plan? Just what if, you know? I like to throw out scenarios that nobody's talking about. Everybody's like, oh, the dollar is going higher. Like, blah, 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 blah. And this over here indicates we may have a problem. May have a problem. These two are touching. Last time we did this, you know what that led to, right? It wasn't immediate. We got to this point. It was a countdown, right? Took about a year. And then the flash crash. Time before that, didn't even catch it till we got way down here. Remember what that problem was? Great financial crisis. You remember what this one was? .com bust. That's the 3 major ones since I've been trading. And Janet Yellen says it'll never happen again, but interest rate says otherwise. Now, I speculated back here a couple years back that we may actually climb the interest rates again before the big crisis. So this might happen. We might prolong it a little bit before we have the big crunch, but we'll see what happens. Keep coming back. Make sure you subscribe. Keep hanging with me. All right. So I go pull everything moving $2 or more up, put it on the gainers list. Move $2 or more down, put it on the decliners list. I have a bonus trade at the end. It's not on the list, but I have it have it saved. I'll bring it up at the end. Keep hanging out. We'll give the daily bias at the very, very end. So keep hanging out. We'll rip through these as quick as I can here. I know I'm kind of talking a lot today. Ralph Lauren, nice pop, right up to like the crazy extension. Wow. Let's just clear these off and do a couple more fib things. So this pullback right here, kind of sitting in clear air. So we could go up to this level right around 323. COHR. Man, redneck coming out of my mouth today. 120 on the upside. That's pretty much a gonna happen situation. We closed right in here today. That's pretty likely. Let's see, the statistics say 60% likely based on COHR, so it does have a little bit of failure in its history. Might work. We'll see. Doesn't actually kick off the entry till the close today, so we'll check on that one later. TPR. Nice tapestry. I cannot see this company's name without thinking about something, way back. But, gosh. I'm going to say like probably around 2000, maybe 2001-ish. Somebody said to me, they were like, you will never remember what they call a tapestry maker. Like, you'll never remember that word, what the name for a tapestry maker is. And without Googling it, if somebody wants to jump in the chat and let me know, I may have said this before and you may remember, but somebody told me that you'll never remember. And to this day, I remember what it's called. To this day. PM. A person that makes tapestry. What are they called? That popping up here. Nice little pop. Time for retrace. What that looks like. Time for retrace. That high, that low. We bounced off of the 1618 right there. At least a retest of the breakout would be expected. Come back down, retest, and then go higher. It's called a tapicker. That's a tapestry maker is a tapicker. At least one person responded to me. So it's a tapicker. It's like that would such a weird word, right? Tapicker. Anyway, I can't forget it now. I'll probably remember that till the rest of my days. Not even really sure who bet me. I didn't know. No, I just remember the result of the conversation. Like, you will never remember that. Well, guess what? It wasn't that I said I won't remember it. It's they said you will never remember this. It's like, well, guess what? I remember it the rest of my life. They probably, like, I'm sure whoever it was won't even remember the conversation. So I don't remember anything else about the conversation. That's for sure. Hershey, possibly a bounce here. This has gotten pretty rough here. We're pushing the limits of a roadmap or of a measured bounce. If we can get back above this orange box, Hershey's can go on another rip. If it does, we're talking about some ridiculous levels up here. Absolutely ridiculous. Look at these numbers up here. I mean, you'd be like, no way we're going to 500. I mean, this one right here, it's kind of my, I take a few of these. I don't find them every day, but when they set up and they actually do the thing, my target's on up here on this one. I bought a couple thousand shares, bought them at 30. Now we're doubled, and we're looking for that. That's a pretty good trade, and that's just on shares, and there's no options to lose money on. Not too bad. So Hershey, if it kicks off, nice upside potential. Other ones that have that same sort of thing, like MU, if it can bottom here and break out, we could see a big upside. QCOM has the same sort of deal, even though Apple's going to quit buying their modems. If it can break out, there's the giant upside potential here. Kind of interesting if they start working out. IDCC. Now, if we have a big giant market meltdown, what happens? I don't know. Does all this stuff go down? Possible. Anyway, we've got, looks like topping action here. As long as we maintain a lower high, this can come back down to the roadmap line here. AGX got close. I still expect that to hit the roadmap line. This may find resistance here and turn down. And if you haven't figured it out, this is a measured bounce. Same thing as I was just talking about on Hershey QCOM, just a smaller scale. Little thing right there, and we get the continuation right down here. It's a corrective, it's a reversal pattern is what it is, the measured bounce. Projects us right down there. So if you've never put that together, that's what I'm always looking for. These measured bounces show up all the time in this smaller picture right here. Light. Right there. If we can close up here, sets the stage for continued rally up there. I don't know how you spell it. Like, you go look it up, but it's funny, Rod, that you might have remembered Tapicker also. Anyway, why would you even know what a tapestry maker is, right? Align, resistance, Coming down through here, despite being on the poppers list today. That might go lower. That is. So there's 4 sectors that don't always follow the patterns. Medical specialty includes biotech, pharma, anything the Food and Drug Administration in the United States is involved in. Those don't always follow the patterns. They can just do crazy stuff sometimes. Food and Drug Administration, just like, hey, 90% of your business is no longer valid. We're not going to let you sell that anymore. And the chart goes. So be careful on anything medical related. So that's one of the things. Another thing, low price stuff. You know, that's equities under $10. Doesn't count cryptos or futures or anything like that, but it does count all stocks under $10. Don't always follow the patterns. And other things, leverage stuff, anything that's, you know, like TSLO, SPXL, you know, all these things that say like 2X, 3X, Ultra, anything like that, doesn't always follow the pattern. You know, they can just do their own thing. They're derivatives and they're leverage derivatives. So, and then the fourth thing that commonly doesn't follow the pattern is China stuff. You know, China stocks play by different rules in the United States. They don't have to have accounting. So be careful on those 4 things. There's other things that don't always, you know, there's other exceptions too, like IPOs are always bearish. Well, virtually always, you know, 95% of the time bearish. There's real estate investment trusts, aren't really chartable in the same way on the same time frames. Other things like SPACs do their own thing, and that's kind of like an IPO, but not. And so there's other exceptions. But I'm looking for 2 main patterns. The first one is the roadmap bounce, and the second one is that measured bounce. I look for those constantly. And then this is kind of an echo consolidation, rip, consolidation, and that's just copying the box. So we may consolidate till March or April, and then rip again on app. Can always do something else too. It doesn't have to follow the patterns. It's just what's the most likely thing. Coin here. That looks like it might dip back to the roadmap line. That held that 618 really strongly. Did not hit the roadmap line right here. Did not. So we might need it over here. Up here's the target. And if we can just break out above this, 427 is the target way on up there. GEV. Hablo un poquito español, and that's it for me. G Veranova. Looks like it wants to come back to the roadmap line. Resistance right there with that giant gap down. And that's what we got. Yum. 146 if we're going up. Boy, that one's taking forever to get there too. That set up that choppy stuff. I actually closed that a couple weeks ago. I need the cash back out of that. Carvana. Target's 281. Lipo. Another pharmaceutical and low priced. That's got 2. That's a twofer right there. Dumpster fire. Why do I say dumpster fire? See all this price action under the roadmap line, and hiding in here is a reverse split right there. That just combines together to make this an absolute dumpster fire. Be careful, it'll burn you. These little pops happened before. There was one, burned it. There was another one, burned it. There's another one. What do you think is going to happen? Down. APTV, kind of the same thing, but no reverse split. Be careful. This can keep grinding down. Potential for a measured bounce, but we're going to have to break out and start making higher highs, quit making lower lows and lower highs. FUTU, potential for this one to rip. Going to have to get above this box, and then we could potentially set this up for a bigger run up to 277. ALAB. If we can get above that, 618 right there, 120, 160, 170 target, quantum. Be careful on this one. It's another danger. Danger, 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 danger. AMSC, bracket superconductor. I mean, we get the close up here. Looks like we're going to 40. Then back down again. That thing's just been grinding. And if we break below the roadmap line, bigger downtrend, bigger downside. AMZN, AstraZeneca. I know a few of you have heard me say this before, but somebody asked me, how in the world do you keep track of all the tickers, all the news, all the stuff going on with the stock market? How do you keep that all in your head? I was like, all right, when you look at sports ball, how many teams do you know? Like, oh, I know all the teams. And do you know all the basketball teams? Yeah. Do you know all the football teams? Yeah. Do you know all the baseball teams? Yeah. Do you know the players? Yeah. Do you know their stats? Yeah. Well, for me, stocks are that way. Like, I don't know jack squat about sports ball. You could talk to me about, you could tell me, you know, the Vols changed their team name, and I'd be like, okay, cool. I don't know jack squat about sports ball, college, pro. Not very fun to talk to about sports at all. Ask wrong. It's all like, I know all the stock stuff, and that's the resistance right there. Watch out for the downside. CarMax resistance right there. Be careful. Might go down. Sono. Downtrend of highs right there. That's resistance. Now we do have a higher low coming in here. So we've got kind of a watermelon seed squeeze situation. If we can break out, we could go higher. This could be a big measured bounce. That was the low off of the IPO. Potential move up and a retrace. If we could break out, we might be ripping on up here to the 65 to 100 area. So this could be a pretty nice opportunity if we break out above this like 18 area for a rally up here to these, 65 to 100. Reddit. How high can she fly with the wax wings before we get the retrace? It's just grinding higher, grinding higher. 264. Watch out. Now, do they even, who's their earnings? I have no idea how they even make money. They made money. Not a lot of money, but they made money. Let's see. Price to sales 10. Not ridiculous. They don't have any, haven't had any earnings. Operational expenses basically eat all the profits. That'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Market cap $36 billion. I guess they have little ads that pop into the thread. All right, AVGO. We already looked at Tesla actually, briefly. It was pushing below the support line for the last couple of days. AVGO lower highs. So this did reach an ideal retrace back here. This first move down. Now we're in this retrace. We're in the zone. So we did this gap down, and we're still sitting in that gap. It's possible that this hovers right here and then does a bigger retrace. This may have been the first move. This is the retrace, possibly up at that high. And then you see where the next target puts us with the measured bounce. The corrective move could put us down here. And that would be the roadmap line. Funny enough. That could be the way it works. Now, if we get above this, this is very tight right here. But if we get above this right there, next upside is right in here. earnings coming up in a couple weeks at the end of the month. FTAI, resistance at the roadmap line. Potential for this to turn and burn it higher, but significant resistance right in there, and upside potential up there around 220. That'd be a pretty big move. I say $100. That's almost 40% upside. FAS probably cranking on up to 192. NVDU is looking really bearish. Be careful. NVIDIA and sitting at the roadmap line. I do see potential for this to rally a little bit higher on up to this level right in here. In fact, I should set my alert. I did sell my puts down here. I just wasn't feeling it anymore. And we're recovering a little bit. Now, if we pop up here and stop, that can roll big time. Maybe like, may want to argue and say, no way, JT. And we'll see. People told me Boeing wasn't going down, and then the door flew off and all sorts of problems. So, TEM, struggling to get higher. I mean, it has the pattern to go up to 88, but that's a lot of resistance to get through. Might just flush down. CIEN. And lower high. Roadmap line would be my expectation there. And PI. Potential for the measured bounce. If we stick that, sets it up. Wow. Wow, that's a nice upside potential right there. I have no idea what this company does. Semiconductor stuff. Potential for that. Nice upside. SWKS. There's a local company called Skyworks that sells lifts or rents lifts. I cannot see the name of this company without thinking about the lift company. Look at that. Look at that. Sometimes I get lucky. That could be a low. That could be the low. Although we're so close to making a lower low. Might need a lower low. Huntington Ingalls Industry. Target is down here on a lower low. EFX, Equifax. Consumer is stressed right now, despite Visa, MasterCard, Discover, Capital One ripping. This looks like coming down. I mean, high interest rates, less people getting credit checks, less people buying stuff. You just know you can't. And I was watching a comedian last night. He's like, yeah, all these commercials tell you to, they're like, oh, you need to buy a car? Check your credit score. He's like, checking your credit score does not fix your credit score. It's like you don't go to the bank and they're like, oh, you got bad credit. But I see you checking your credit score, so we'll go ahead and give you a car. That's not the way it works. Not the way it works at all. So that was a funny joke, I thought. And Equifax looks like we're heading on down. Roblox, probably going to retrace back to the roadmap line. Failing to stick the breakouts. QCOM. And Dusty Slay, yeah. And sitting here. Right there. That potential. ARW. More sideways. These guys sell semiconductors and electronics. Not very strong right there for breaking out. ASML. Still think we're going down to the low 600s. As long as we stay under the roadmap line. Dun, 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 dun. ARM. Lower highs. Earnings came out, beating on the top, beating on the bottom. These guys don't actually sell anything except they license technology. Even though they're in semiconductors, they just design them. And looks like we might come down. Form factor. Looks like we're on a retrace for that one. That low, that high. Support down here. If we can hold it, that's a measured bounce. If we don't, it may come down right down here. 15. CNMD. Golly, let's wrap this baby up. So we got resistance at the roadmap line, potential to go lower until we break above and get some higher highs. Lin, potential to go lower until we get way back up there. Oops, moved it instead of, there we go. Sit at the resistance. We can beat that prior high, get the close up there, 500 on the upside. Wow, big mover. Honeywell. Jeez, that looks like it's like a heart, you know, it's like an EKG, right? Prior high, this may need a retrace before it can break up through. And it's been sideways for years, so be careful. Stock at rest tends to stay at rest. Life Advantage. Back to retest the breakouts, looks like. We can stick it, we can go higher. That high, that retrace, potential on up to 30. AOSL, Alpha Omega Semi has the potential. That right there. Potential to going up right there, 56. Hey, watch out for that. CRM. Did y'all watch the CEO of PLTR bragging about killing bad guys? That was freaking hilarious. Watch out for that. Yeah, as far as PLTR goes, I had the target. We hit the target. I drew the target, I don't know how long ago. A couple months ago. We hit the target. Can we get higher? That's the question. It had the potential to drop back to the roadmap line. Now it has a lot of potential to drop back to the roadmap line. HOLX. Still sideways for years and years. Tesla's on the list. Pushing below the support. If we close here today. There's the downside. And the roadmap below that. SYM. Has a potential measured bounce in place to push it on up here. This is a industrial machinery. I don't know. Downtrend, lower highs. If we can break above, that would be the target area right there. Maybe like, I don't see the measured bounce. It's right there. Holding pretty well. And then we got a little sub one, little baby one right there in between, you know. So it's got a 1-2-1-2 potential right there. So if we break above that high, probably coming up here at the minimum. If not, getting a little spicier on up here like 88 for SYM. And how long? I mean, that could take well into the summer to play out in full at this point. Corvo, however you say that. Turn down off the roadmap line. If we break below the 618 level, cruising on down. Measure, that's roadmap bounce. Get below this level. Going on down here, potential. ENTG. Just chopping. SAP is the European version. We need the US version. And just keeps grinding higher. PTIR. That was on the decliners list, and it's ripping right back today. Be careful. BMW. Back to the roadmap line. BKT. I went through this earlier in the week, like on. Look at this right here. 240. Like just think about these numbers for a second. $242 billion, right? And the revenue is $700 million in a quarter. $700 million. Whole year, $2.2 billion. Price to sales is at 35. Something like AMD. Yeah, they're not in AI so much, $178 billion. Their revenue, $22 billion in a year. Their price to sales is sitting at 11. I mean, I posted a joke in Discord about the AMD yesterday. I mean, it's just like, does it make sense? I don't know. You tell me. It's a little bit crazy. Anyway, moving on. VKTX, almost to the promised land. This may go a little deeper. Possibly down to 24. Could bounce here. Like it's top of the target zone. SDA getting wrecked. I wouldn't trade that. It's just another heartbeat chart. Yang. Wet in the bed. HP. Hammer licking pain. Watch for that to keep going down. ARMG. 2x leverage on ARM. If ARM's going to rip, it could go higher, but that chart, danger is what that chart says to me on the leverage chart. All right. I said I would pull up a bonus trade and show it off here. Let me do that. Find it really quickly. I don't even remember what it was. I'm going to have to pull this up, and there it is. Nope, that's not right. Nuggets sandwiches. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Found it. Right here. CanSL. Look at that. Look at those numbers. Beautiful. So let's talk about it a second. Come on. KNSL. Here's the move. That high, that low, close above right there. That was the entry. So the target is at 550. I've got it drawn a little extra. I won't get it right on the money. Sloppiness. 550 is the target. Don't go too crazy. Now, this usually takes 22 days on average. It's only done this 8 times in the past, so not the longest history. 87% of the time it's worked out, and a profit factor of 20. Now, that is a massive upside potential of $65 a share, and this does cost $400. And the stop is below 404, which is $1 below the low down here. So I don't know if it's right for you and your account, but be careful. And you can trade shares with these. 22 days on average, so that's not a real long time, but could take twice the average or 3 times the average. So 22 bars, roughly 33 days. 44 bars, twice the average. Puts it out here roughly 63 days. So somewhere in April, if you were going to go for that, right there. All right. I did go over gold earlier, and my expectation for the day. Circle back, hit that really quickly. As I said, if we can break through this resistance, which we're not doing so far today. Keep rejecting. If we can break through that resistance, going cruising on higher. And I'm still 75% long, 25%, 75% bulls, 25% bear. Looking at the bigger picture over the next couple of weeks. I don't know if it'll play out today, tomorrow, next week, later in the month. We'll see, but we have the setup that's leans me 75% going higher before we drop and make new lows down below any lows we've had in the last month or so. There you go. And can you tell us about this class this weekend? There is no class this weekend. Alrighty. Don't have a class this weekend. That's the bias for the day. That's what we're looking for. Breakout higher. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning, 9:15. Same bad time, same bad channel. Right here, we'll do it all again. Look for opportunities. And have a great day.